Good morning, everybody. Welcome, guys. How are we doing today? Alex, how you doing, mate? Freezing cold in London, man. How's things, mate? How's things in Cyprus? Probably a lot warmer than what I'm feeling this morning. Still sunny and warm. See, and you're complaining about living in Cyprus. You're crazy, man. Let's swap. Cutting oranges. Love it. That's the life, mate. At least you won't, you've got no excuse to have a lack of vitamin C. How's the trading going? Valerie, good morning. Tom, how you doing, mate? I assume you're trading from home today. Anybody in any positions, guys? Ah, cool. Ah, fair enough. You could have put a trade on and seen what happened with that internet. Might have done quite well with it if you without messing with it. Have you been quite good with kind of leaving trades alone to follow your plan? Ah, fair enough. So we've got quite a lot coming out today, actually. So it could be a fairly volatile Tuesday. So what I can see here is that 10:30 we've got CPI. Yeah, it looks like a big news week. So we've got CPI basically this morning at 10:30, so it's a little bit after the London session. We normally look at until 10. Let me just make sure yes. Unless I got the time wrong here. Hold on. I think the time's wrong. No, so it should be at 9:30. Yeah, time's wrong. I thought that was a bit weird. So not sure why, but when we change the time, this doesn't kind of add up. So I believe we have to change it to that. No, the other way. Had a 50-50 chance. So although this one says the London time, you've got to change it to -1 GMT. So it's just something to check, guys. You can see up here now, got the correct time. So just don't get mixed up. So it should now be reflecting. But yeah, it's 9:30, so that's more like it. Only reason I checked is because I thought it was a little bit unusual for it to be at 10:30. Okay, so we've got CPI from the UK at 9:30. That's always a decent mover. Okay, and you can see this is the forecast for inflation to go up slightly. Okay, from 3% to 3.1%. And what else we got out? So we have Draghi speaking at 10 o'clock. And then we've got Carney speaking at the same time. And we've got Kuroda speaking at the same time. And we've got Yellen as well speaking at the same time. So lots and lots going on this morning. So could see a bit of volatility. We have PPI also from the US at 1:30 as well. So it's kind of mainly happening this morning. And then we've got that data this afternoon as well. Okay, so let's go look at the charts from a technical point of view. Obviously, we want to be aware when speeches are going on, they could create volatility. So especially if you're day trading, you kind of want to avoid trading really before sort of 10 o'clock. Good morning, Eloy. How are you? Always nice to see you in here. You in any trades, Eloy? Yeah, feeling the British weather this morning. Not a big fan of cold weather, so don't know if you've been out yet, but it's pretty cold. So if you were considering that extra layer, I would go with it. I'll tell you what, Tom, I want you to come in shorts and t-shirt to prove how manly you are. All right, guys, let's have a quick look at the charts. So let's start with the dollar index. We've still got this kind of retracement at the moment. So here's the daily chart. Quick look at the weekly as well. So nothing really drastically changed here. I think the dollar has still got some room to the upside. I think we're just retracing right now, and I do think we're going to go up and test eventually 95.60, which is quite a decent little level here. Okay, I'm probably even looking at this going even higher than that. It's got a little bit choppy. You can see the price action after this nice run. You can see the market's just kind of building up a little bit of energy after rallying really strongly here. We can also just draw in our trend lines here, just to, let's change this to white so I don't get confused with the angle lines. There we go. You can see right now it's actually quite a decent point for the dollar. It's holding on support. Morning, Yerman, how are you? So you can see the market is holding on support here. And if you do break this support, we could have a bit more of a significant fall. Obviously, we haven't done any kind of analysis with our market angles, but so there could be some levels here. But right now, let's keep an eye on this to see if this market, if it breaks through here, then you can start to look for some of these old sort of areas for reaction points for sure. Let's put a couple in here just to illustrate. So these are old areas that the market will probably go and attack. But right now, we'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens here. So this is the 4-hour chart. Okay, so this is the daily chart. And if we just draw it on the daily chart as well, it should reflect pretty much the same thing. So you can see we're just holding on support. So potentially, we have to assume that support's going to hold. So potentially, dollar strengthens from around here. Okay, so let's go and good to hear, Yemen. You fully recovered now? Not yet, okay. I think public transport from now on, mate. Stick to the bus. So euro dollar, again, I've been looking for this to kind of turn. I do think we are heading lower than where we are. Okay, I've kind of identified this area up here as a sell zone. I still think any kind of test up here would be a great sell. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we actually put this in last time I was on, and to show you what I was looking for really is basically a test of, we have the trend line here, we have a, if I zoom out just to remind you, this is an old trend line here, and what's happened since is the market has basically broken through, and see how it's just testing it on the back end. And so what we spoke about last time was for this to kind of, basically from here I drew this out where I was expecting this to just continue to slowly move up and enter this kind of box here where I would be looking to sell it. Now you can see here as well, we have a DTR around 117.24. We do have Draghi speaking today, so that could be impacted, but you can see old support, really nice level on a DTR and a trend line. This could be an interesting short for me for the euro dollar. Okay, now I'm going to just draw my fibs if it will let me manually. If not, I'll do them with the, so here we go. I just want to see where we are and in regards to, that's interesting. So we have, as we have a trend line break, as you guys know, I always look for the overextension to the 200. Don't know if you can quite see it there, but I'm just going to show you right there. Everybody can see the 200 comes in at 117.29. So for me, if you want to narrow this, and that's the idea, kind of shorting below 117.60. We can add in our A as well, so you could just stick in a limit sell. Good point, let me check that actually, especially with the news coming out. So it is the 1. So if you wanted to check what the 1.5 is, considering we have quite a lot of data, you could even look at the 2, because we have Draghi speaking. So here you go. So that will take you to 117.54. What I wanted to quickly check is to see where my A is right now as well. So, because that's obviously typically where we would put our stop. So let me check that out, and we can come up with a potential plan here. Right, so here's our A. So our A comes in at 118.35. Now let's say we go 30 pips above it, just give it a bit of room. I mean, you can go 20, 15, 20. So we'll, let's say, stop at 118.55. So we'll go 20. Okay, stop at 118.55. Okay. And what I quite like about this entry here is that you're actually getting in at the 618 plus an old level of support. Now you can see the 1.5 DTR wouldn't take you out of the news. And if I change it to the 2 times DTR, and just to explain why you could consider the 2 times DTR, that still wouldn't take you out on the day. So you could have data go against the entry here. Okay, so I would look at, basically, if you want something a bit more precise, guys, I'd look at around sort of 117.20. So if we want to go a bit more precise, short let's even go 19. So somewhere there, stop up here, and that basically gets you in at the 200 going up and the 618 going down. Everybody, does that make sense? Gives it plenty of room. Now here's the thing as well, you can see, just let me know, type in a yes if that makes sense, guys. And the reason why I looked at two times DTR is because we have Draghi speaking, which is going to be affecting the euro, and then we also have Yellen speaking, which is going to be affecting the dollar. And so if both kind of go the same way, you could get an even more extreme move than we normally look at. Okay, so and then you could look at potentially go back to your weekly if you wanted to find targets, but I really like 114.60, I've got to say, that kind of target. So our first target, you can see, was perfect, hit it to the pip and it's bounced. Okay, so you can trust we know where our targets are. This is a really good target, guys. For me, anything kind of close to this, 114.63, maybe just above it, is an awesome target. Okay, you've got a really good consolidation level. It's actually a really good weekly level as well. If I just show you, look at that, really good level to go for. Now, do I think necessarily that that's all we've got in this? No, not necessarily. I think we could actually have more downside, but right now, for me, this is a great next target. So if I go over to the 4 hour, let me see if the 4 hour kind of confirms it or disagrees with it. Now that's interesting. Yeah, I think we spoke about this last time. So 114.60, basically this is our target zone. So you could go for, I mean, you can see here, that's the 144 fib, which basically is implying that the market, if it works perfectly in sync with the fibs, will rally up to here, which is about 117.53. So if you really want to be super, super precise, I'll tell you what I'm going to put here. I'm going to amend this. I want to give you guys something to think about. Okay, so you've got to make, if you do like the euro short, you've got to make your decision where you want to enter it. And it could overextend to this 1618, but personally, I would be more than happy to get out at least half my position. Could even go a little bit higher if you want. Now, it doesn't make this, you know, a huge reward to risk, but the thing you've got to ask yourself is, well, look, you know, am I going in the current direction? So is the likelihood that the market's going to go lower? The answer is yes. Am I getting in at a good price? The answer is yes. You know, am I giving it enough room? The answer is yes. And am I getting out before any major level support or resistance? Again, the answer is yes. So in terms of probability, you can assume that the probability is in your favor, plus you'll have for sure a higher reward to risk than 1-to-1. Everybody, can you understand that rationale? So depending on your entry, you should still be getting around 2-to-1 anyway. Okay, so for me, it's a very good trade. Okay, so that's the euro dollar. Let's carry on. By the way, if anybody's got any requests, just let me know. I'll try and fit in as many as I can. Yep, Alex, yeah, it would be around that sort of 2-to-1, yep. Okay, so cable, I kind of heard Tom speaking about it a little bit yesterday, and what he was saying is correct. I mean, in terms of, like, you know, this market at the moment is holding on support. Okay, it is potentially, it's not bouncing a lot and it could go through, but right now it's holding. Okay, and you can see these are weekly bars, guys. This is a very, very key pivot. Look at this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. If this goes through, you can expect a huge move. Okay, it could be today. It could be today where we actually break through. Why? Because we have data, we have speeches, we've got CPI, we've got Carney speaking, we've got Yellen speaking. These are the kind of days which could push through a really key level here. Okay, but it could get really messy. Now, I did kind of show this level here at 130. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to just have a look. Where's our current? Yeah, so I think right now see this price action on the smaller time frame. I mean, typically this is the sort of price action you see for a move up. So for me, I kind of agree with Tom that I'd rather really see cable break through before taking a position. And identified this area here as a first area, and I think here as well as a second area. I think we've got more. I think we potentially, I believe we can go down to 127 here. So even if you do miss this initial move, you can still get in. The one thing I will say though, if this, because of how long it's ranged, the longer it stays in the range, guys, the more energy is being built up, and therefore the faster the move is likely to be once it breaks either side. And so far we have 6 or 7 weeks of sideways movement. So you can almost see, like, positions are going to get stopped out, new positions are going to be entered, and suddenly the market could move very, very fast. So it's just something to bear in mind when you're trading, that a day trading strategy or breakout strategy during that kind of time might be more feasible than a swing strategy, because if this starts to break down, you're not going to necessarily get those deeper pullbacks on your C to Ds. Okay, but again, if part of your strategy, for example, is getting in, scaling in on sort of then you could potentially be still getting in on the more shallow pullbacks. Yep, no problem. I will go back to that euro dollar. What you can do, Yerman, I don't know if you were on when I've said this before. I'm going to go, what chart do you want? The daily. So if you want, on your go-to webinar, on the top right-hand corner, I believe, there should be a little thing where you can just take a picture. So I can just zoom in a bit here. Hold on. So that's done the. So this first target got hit because it was basically this distance and we projected it down. So the target 1 was the H&S pattern. Target 2 is the weekly level, and well, I guess this is target 3 then. So this is target 2 and target 3 will be down here. So I might change this right now. And that is a measurement of the head to take it down to around 113.35. And if I zoom out a little bit, what's quite interesting as well is that this area here is basically a market angle. This is one of my market angles here in yellow. And it basically aligns perfectly with this third target. And actually, if you have a look back over here, it's also an old level of resistance. So I personally think we've got this one, and this one to go for. And at that stage, we can kind of relook at it. I believe this is a trend line, so it could even go lower than that. But I believe these are the reaction points there. And I believe you'll get a reaction here. Okay, so these are great profit-taking areas. And if you can match these up with your smaller time frames, your 4 hours and your hours, they're even higher probability. And guys, if you're good at day trading, these are great areas just to take some pips on the way back up as well. So if you can get like a smaller time frame confirmation about this area here, this one and this one, I would take that the other way as well, but just as a day trade, okay, kind of in and out. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so we've gone through cable. As I said, this might be something where once you really get moving, you're not necessarily going to have a huge amount of opportunity to get in. So I think breakout strategies might be better, or you might want to consider the more shallow moves once you've got that confirmation that this market's moving. But if it happens, guys, I'll kind of guide you with it tomorrow. Okay, so I'll give you a trade plan. Let's move on because I don't see anything major there for right now. Let's go look at the Aussie. So here is our weekly chart. The Aussie's basically done what we've described. After holding here, the market has slowly gone lower, and it's now pretty much kind of about to touch this trend line here. Remember, it's a weekly chart. We have a 118 apparently on the 1 hour chart as well. Let's have a quick look at that. So we are in a fade zone, so you never know, the Aussie could just pull back a little bit. Let me go to the daily chart. Interesting. So the daily is broken through. So overall, again, this is showing good weakness here. I was basically thinking this market could pull back here. You can see I drew the line. Maybe I was looking for a short to, if it kind of went back up here, but it hasn't. It's broken through. And so if I just have a look over here, we'll zoom out on my daily chart. Let's have a look to see what levels and that's a little while away. It's not the best level anyway. Okay, there's a little bit of a level here. Old support, a little bit of resistance, bit of open and closing price action there. But I do see good momentum here, so and you've got this next support line coming in. Let me look at the 4 hour chart. Where's our fibs? A, B, 38 pullback. Yeah, so you've got to say right now, I wouldn't necessarily be just jumping into the Aussie dollar short, but I do kind of have to favor the Aussie weakness right now. And I guess the question is, where is this going to kind of stall? Let me see what the weekly's showing us. So this is a good area of price action. Good reaction zone here. What level's that? 75.68. Let me go to the hourly chart. 75.68. So we've already hit that, have we? No, so it's a bit lower. We go to the 4 hour chart. 75.68 comes in around here. That's interesting because that's sort of 75.68 level. If you see here, you've got the DTR there plus the trend line. Let me double check this trend line, but yeah, so, and that looks like a really good area to kind of take a counter trend trade. All right, I'm going to mark that down. If it gets down here today, guys, I think you can anticipate. I mean, look at the let me show you. Look at the DTR on the bottom end. Can you see how the market is basically holding on it? It's not breaking through it. Again, reacting. That was the low here. Pretty much holding on this DTR. The fact that you've got a trend line, the fact that I identified a weekly level independently, and you've got a DTR, I'm going to call this a reaction point. So here's what you can do with it. Well, obviously you can implement your own strategy. Okay. So you could actually trade the Aussie dollar like as an end of days trade. So for example, the DTR is there. So I would actually consider this maybe after the speeches in case you do get an overreaction on the dollar. And then you can use this to either, if you believe the market's going high, you can use it as an initial entry, or you can just take a scalp up and get out. Okay, tight stop. You can use a sort of much smaller time frame, like a 15-minute chart, to play that reaction. The other option is you can use this area to say, look, Aussie's going to strengthen here. Why don't I match that up with a currency that I think is going to weaken, and then you can go and do that sort of trade. Okay, so that area is about 75.67, roughly there. Let me know if anybody's got any questions, guys. Everybody clear? Have you guys got a plan? Or do you need some help? Just type in a yes if it makes sense, or if you've got a question, just type in Q and I'll wait for your question. Okay, good. Tom says, as another example of a perfect DTR counter trend trade was sterling yen yesterday. Price traded down to daily support, exactly on the DTR, and then reversed. Okay, we'll go and have a look at that, Tom. We'll have a look at that shortly. I'll just bring it up, just won't do the full analysis, but just so that we can. So yeah, good area here, and yeah, you can see. Let me put the 4-hour chart. Let's add in our DTR. Yeah, perfect. Look at that. And you can see one of the things, okay, we're using this indicator, guys, is have a look to see how it's currently moving, how it's currently holding. Okay, if you see that the market is holding on it most of the time, you can use it as an indicator. I mean, that's kind of my general rule for trading. You know, like for those that have known me for a while, you'll know that I don't just use indicators, you know, just, you know, without them proving themselves. So, you know, even with moving averages, if a moving average doesn't hold the market, then it's no use to me right now. So same with the DTR. If the DTR is holding, you can use it as an area, and you can see here perfectly this market's holding on its DTR right now. Okay, and it's in a range. So here you go, resistance there, another resistance there, another support there. This one went through. Okay, this might have, obviously when you've got a news day, you've got to be careful. Like for example, today I would increase the DTR, and especially we've got two, you know, we've got Carney and we've got CPI for sterling, and we've got Kuroda as well. So lots of potential volatility. So today is not a day really where you want to be fading the DTR. Let's go back to the Kiwi dollar. I want to complete the higher time frames here of the majors. So what have we got in the key? We got a potential fade on the 4-hour. I can't have a look at that. So this looks like it's starting to gather a bit of momentum for a push lower, which kind of matches up with dollar strength. So as we've said a few times, but I'll repeat it, we've kind of had this break through the trend line, a retest. We held on this old level support, and if we break through it, there's a lot of potential movement to the downside. Okay, pretty much back down to these lows. There's not really a lot in the way. You can see it's pretty much empty space. So good potential for the Kiwi to break lower. Here's our daily chart. We have a 38 pullback. We spoke about the bounce here. It's perfectly bounced into the 38. We drew a box here. You can see it's got there perfectly. Hit a level of resistance and bounced. And now it's trying to obviously break lower. Now you've got a couple of things here. Either you're looking at this really pushing through these lows, and then in which case we're going to be looking to day trade and take C to D's down on this one, or you could end up basically kind of going and meeting this trend line again, maybe in a kind of wave fashion. Okay, C to D up. So what you can do in this situation is we could just have a quick look. Potentially kind of the angle that the market is trading at. And that's a nice angle. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to use this, and you can see right now it's actually broken through that. So it's definitely showing some signs here of a breakthrough, and to really get a confirmation, you want to see these lows taken out. Okay, and really a break of these lows, you should be looking to enter this market short. Okay, you can see trend line broken here. You may get a retest. Sometimes the market will kind of do something like this, and you can see you got a bit of a level here as well. So that level, guys, just so I'm going to box it up here. If you wanted to get ahead, get in a little bit ahead, you've got 68.90 roughly. However, having said that, if you wait for the confirmation, obviously then you're selling weakness rather than getting in at a key level which might actually hold. If you think about it, right now we are holding an old resistance that becomes support. And yes, there is this resistance hold pushing it down, but if you get in early, you're basically going against this area, and you're hoping that the market basically breaks through it before stopping you out. So it's obviously safer to wait for a break lower. So Tom says, just to add, it also makes a difference where price is on a chart. If it's trading in no man's land, i.e. between support and resistance, then the probability of the detail holding is reduced. However, if the detail matches up with a key level, then you have a confidence. Yep, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to kind of leave this one. For me, I want it to prove itself before getting involved. So dollar yen, I'm going to just adjust this because for me, it's still holding on this as a channel. And it really, I mean, you can draw this as a horizontal level as well. So really, to kind of get confirmation of a break higher, I'd really want to see it close up in this area here. And it could happen. I mean, we've spoken about potentially the dollar moving higher, so you could actually get that breakthrough. daily chart, I mean, you're just ranging right now. You're basically support to resistance. So realistically, this area here is a buy zone, and this area here is a sell zone until this market basically breaks either way. So you got this area and this area. Okay, and if we cut the 4-hour chart, for me, this is not one that I necessarily want to trade, but so far, it's kind of been doing what we mapped out from what I can just see. So we had this old level resistance, drew this out here from up here. You can see the market has bounced at that level. And what I was anticipating at the time was for this to bounce and eventually possibly break lower, which of course it can still do. You can see we've got decent level there. That's where it's holding. If it starts to break through these lows, then we've potentially got quite a bit of downside left, having broken this area. Kiwi CAD, yep, okay. I'll have a quick little look at that one. Just very briefly. Yeah, so Kiwi, it's a dollar CAD. Just quickly looking at dollar CAD because I want to see what I think of that one. Potentially what I mapped out here was this to maybe go and test this area here and then maybe bounce. So I'll have a little look at Kiwi CAD. Yes, it's this weekly that's quite messy, isn't it? It's this area where we boxed it similar to this, where it kind of stayed in a range for quite some time, and you've kind of got the possibility that it might even go down and test these areas. If we look at the daily chart, I mean, right now, it's what I said last time, which is, you know, we're holding on this line, and as long as we're holding, we should really be looking at this moving lower. Looks, again, like, you know, you could break and go and hit 85.30. Let's have a look at the 4-hour. I mean, why don't we just put in our down fibs anyway? A, B, market pulls back to the 50 roughly, or 618. And we've got, yeah, it looks like that's kind of got confluence around 85.26. Daily's pretty much the same, 85.14. So you've got a bit of confluence. Looks like this is a decent area. So you could get a bit of a momentum trade down there. Yeah, it's good to do that sometimes, Valerie. It means that you're not kind of over-reliant on your past info. You look at things fresh. So I think there is some room here, guys. Let me see what the 4-hour chart is saying. I mean, that's moved a bit. I'll quickly add in the fibs going down. Let me see if so. Did it avoid the A being stopped out? Wow, just look at that. So you're pretty much, this is a probable bounce. So here's what you can do if you like this short. See, you've got the DTR here, you've got the hourly D basically completing here, roughly where we are now. Normally I look at the lows really for it to bounce. So kind of anywhere around here, you get the D completing, then you draw your new fib from here to here. And essentially, if you do that, then you're looking for the move down. So let me just quickly draw that in, because you could play this. Where do the fibs, because I like to see if it matches up with what we came up with over here. What did we come at? 85.30. No, it doesn't actually. 85. What's the 618? Okay. So it could be that you get a couple of swings, potentially. It could be one of those messy ones, which wouldn't surprise me. So something like this, you could get like something like this type thing. And then another swing. No worries. Have a good day. So personally, if you like the Kiwi CAD, I would be looking for a deeper pullback to enter it. Just because if you look at the higher time frame, the weekly, there is an obvious battle between bulls and bears, and so if I'm going to take a chance that this market's going to carry on lower, I want to get a really good reward to risk on it. Otherwise, I'm not going to really want to be involved, because the higher time frame isn't a confirmed down move. Okay, not according to my own rules. So I would be looking for the deeper pullbacks up here. Any questions about that, guys? Does it make sense why? Okay, no questions. So I want to go back and look at dollar CAD and analyze it a little bit. Here's our weekly chart. As I said, I'm kind of looking at this maybe as a test of this candle formation, then a slight push lower towards 125.36. Daily chart, though, I've got to say, is saying, you know, I can see why it's bounced here. If I go back to the 4-hour chart, you can see this was our target zone. Don't know if you guys recall, and you can see the market has bounced really, really nicely there. But I do have a sneaky suspicion that we might break lower. I don't think this is too convincing right now, and I can almost see weakness there. So it wouldn't surprise me if we break lower. So I'm not going to take a position on this, but I would be considering, especially looking at the weekly chart, that this market has got a little bit of potential retracement here, a little bit lower. and then a bounce. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Although we don't have a confirmation yet on a smaller time frame, what you'd really want to look for is essentially a break of this trend line, and then you're looking really kind of for a move down like this. And to be fair, if it breaks this trend line, we do have this one. So it could be a case that you just go and test this trend line, in a Fibonacci kind of way, and then we resume the uptrend. So that's the type of, I mean, obviously I've just drawn these out, I haven't done any fibs on them or anything, but it's the type of thing that I'm anticipating on dollar CAD. Okay, but we'll come back, we'll keep looking at this every day, and if there's a setup there, obviously we'll look to take it. Okay. Let's look at dollar Swiss as well. So you can see this one is right on support right now. We're going to see what the weekly, oh, look at that. Nice push to our, basically, is our market angle here. So it's kind of approaching a sell zone. But if you look at it on a daily chart, I think you're kind of in the middle here. You know, are you going to kind of push up now, go and hit this box and then it becomes a super fade zone and a trend line? Or is it going to pull back to the 38? I guess really comes down to, you know, are we expecting a dollar breakout? At this stage, it's hard to tell. So the 4-hour chart right now is holding on a trend line. By the end of the day, it may have broken that trend line. So right now we have potentially a kind of, I mean, you had a break of a range here. The market stayed in the range. So if you get a break on the upside, this is a sort of typical kind of fake break idea where this now becomes a buy zone. So if you like breakouts, this is a good one because you've basically got that support, you've got the fake break, and then the market then goes the other way. And you could potentially then target that daily level up here. So 101.16. Or you can even go for the D. So this would have to be like a 1-to-1 trade, guys. If this is going to be your target, you're basically playing moment. Typically, a momentum trade is about a 1-to-1 trade. Okay, that's which is fine because you're going in the right direction, so the probability should be in your favor. Okay, so even though you're not making more than what you're risking, you should win more than what you lose. Okay, so any particular requests, guys? Otherwise, I'm just going to go and have a look through some of the cross pairs. I was going to go and have a look at some of the yen ones as well. So euro yen. Ah, there you go. Yep, euro yen, euro kiwi, perfect. They're good ones. So the euro yen still remains as a weekly fade zone. Now, obviously, it could spike a bit high. You know, I've boxed it in here. I've got kind of two levels here. The first level's held, the second level, it could push a bit higher, okay, so without kind of affecting this play down. I do believe we are heading down overall. It's just a question of timing. Here's our daily chart. You can see it's kind of messy. We have broken support. Now that weekly level that I just showed you is at 135.75. Okay, so let me have a quick look where 135.75 is. Now remember, it's a weekly level, so it could spike a bit higher. So we've got, it's almost like what it looks like if you do get up here, almost like a fake break, where if you're looking at this like this, this market pushes higher, looks like it's going to break, but maybe ends up high testing. Obviously if it closes higher, then you could be looking at a move higher, but you've got really kind of something like that potentially, especially if it doesn't pull back to the 38, then it becomes a daily 118. So you get a daily 118 fade on a trend line, and the weekly fade is still intact. That is a possibility, okay? The other possibility is that this market has just hit the D and it will continue to move down and go and hit our 38 right here. So how do we kind of trade this? Well, there's a couple of options. If we go to the smaller time frame, there's nothing wrong with taking a position short to hold in case the daily does hold. Okay, so if this is actually the D and we're just ranging a little bit, and eventually the market will break down and go and at least hit 38, you can go for it slightly above that, around 130.55, because it's a good level. So you could look for a high price to basically enter, and then put your stop above the highs and just literally hold it. Okay, so here's your high. Stop can go around 135.15. You could look to enter it really anywhere really in the sort of top end of this range, even higher. I mean, you've got apparently you've got a D here. Is that correct? Can't be right. No, it must be an old one. So pretty much here, if you want to get an initial position, stick your stop up there and literally hold it. Remember, you've got potentially a huge move down. I think you can go as low as 124.80. If you take something like that on, that's fine. You get stopped out. Then you look for the next move higher. Let me see where the current capital A, B, C, D comes in. We haven't quite got back to the 38. We've got fairly close. Where does the D take you? So the 1618 takes you a little bit higher, 136.46. That looks good, Alex. You've got to give it the room it needs. You've got to remember, if you're trying to catch this kind of move, here's one piece of advice. Obviously you can trade it as you want, but if you're going to try and catch a swing trade, make sure you're not taking your profit early, because the reason why this makes sense is that if you're giving yourself a stop, let's say up here 135.15 or even higher, and let's say you're getting in at 133.30, so you're risking a good amount of pips, 185 pips there. What you don't want to do is you don't want this market to kind of go for you. Just, let's say it pushes down a little bit, you get excited, and then you just take your money. Because what you can do though is you can have a strategy where on one account, or you can just get out here, you can do it as just a range trade. You can see this is a good level, But then on that account, you'd probably want to go with a smaller stop. Or you can basically get in here on one account and then close half here, almost thus eliminating a lot of your risk, almost making it a risk-free trade. Then, so if it breaks down, then you're still happy, and if it doesn't, at least you've taken half off. And finally, I'm going to give you a third option. If I just delete the third option, is wait for this to prove itself and break through basically this kind of 132 area, and once you're down here, you could start to look to get involved to short. Okay, I do generally like to try and catch the sort of top end. I prefer it, and as I said, if it does push through, you can start to look at these areas up here. 136.50 is the 118, and actually when I look back on the 4 hour, where's the 4 hour? The 4 hours 136.50 as well, the D. So this becomes sell zone 2. So you'll be stopped out unless you go with a really big stop. So this is a possibility where you go, okay, well, I'm going to treat this as like I'm going to scale in half my position here and another half up here, and my stop's going to be much higher. Now that means that you're giving yourself a really big stop, and you're looking at a very long-term trade. Okay, so I'm just giving you guys ideas. How you trade it is completely up to you. So the normal way would be you take your trade. If you get stopped out, you get in up here again. But somebody who wanted to be really passive, they could do the orders before. No worries. Okay, so next, let's go look at Euro Kiwi. So here is our weekly chart. So the weekly chart is basically at a key level of resistance. The market has reacted here several times in the past. Here is resistance, here, here, and obviously this is where we are right now. So overall, if history is going to repeat itself, this is a good zone for Euro Kiwi to start to find a top. So it could be a case, like it did here, where it spiked higher, that the market finds itself somewhere up here. That's 172.46. So where's 172.46-ish? So you could end up with some sort of like double top, and then the market breaks lower. So something like that, maybe a bit of divergence up here. And then potentially lower. So right now, based on the weekly chart, this is what I would be looking for, something along these lines. At the moment, obviously the momentum is up. Let me see. But it's not a trade that I would take to the upside at this stage. I think the weekly chart is very telling. This is a key area. You have to look at this and think it's most likely to go lower. And so I would be preparing myself for the move lower. Let me see what the 4-hour chart is saying as well. Maybe. So where's our D? Current D is quite high. 175.29. It's quite a bit higher. So according to the smaller time frame, you could be looking at it kind of going towards this area up here, but it's not a trade that I'd be involved with if it does. Okay, not at this stage. I really want to see a weekly breakout. If we get a weekly breakout, then I would be happy to start trading this up, at least towards the weekly D. Eli, does that make sense? Perfect. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to pause the recording. So let's take 15 minutes, get a coffee or some breakfast or whatever, and we'll be back on in about 15. So I'm just going to mute my mic and pause this recording, and I'll see you guys very shortly. All right, guys, I'm back. Let's continue. Eli, if you're still there, what was your, I forgot to ask actually, what was your thoughts about EuroQE? Looking to take it higher, or what were you thinking? I don't know if you're back at your desk yet, but if you are, just let me know. I'll come back to it. You're probably still away. Okay, guys, any particular requests? I will carry on going through the markets. I might actually look at sterling Kiwi as well. We'll see where we are with this one. You can see the last time I was on what I kind of drew out, what I was expecting. So I'm thinking, I've been thinking about sterling Kiwi now. You know, if sterling holds with sterling Kiwi, we could end up going higher. So I think the euro is weaker than sterling. So if you think euro Kiwi lower, anybody else that thinks that as well, then sterling Kiwi might be a good one for the long side. I'm going to just draw out potential. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's a pretty decent market angle. And they're kind of approaching it right now. Let's see what the 4-hour chart's looking like. That's interesting because yeah, I mean, we just don't have enough confirmation, do we, Tom? I just don't. Well, I guess based on the analysis on the dollar, let's say we get dollar strength. From that point of view, cable's more likely to fall. But is that going to be only a dollar move, or is sterling genuinely weaker? I mean, I'm just going to I'm trying to sort of look at things just from a technical point of view rather than trying to think too much. If I look at sterling Kiwi, just as a standalone chart, again, I do kind of have mixed signals, because you've got to argue the case for a push to go and test these highs here. Basically, the market hit an old level, it bounced, it's come back to an old level on the downside, and now there's momentum to try and push through. Daily chart is pushing through, but we've got this thing here where it might just create what I could see here is maybe you get an initial reaction somewhere here, but eventually possibly the market does break higher. It's not enough here for me to trade this, guys. There's just too much uncertainty for me. It's just not clear enough. So I would rather stay out of this right now and get something clearer. Yeah, I would agree with that actually, Tom. So Tom's saying on the higher time frames you can really see it going lower, but on the lower time frames you see a lot of strength. And to be fair, even on the higher time frames we haven't had that confirmation. It's more of a intuitive thing, I would say. I think it's the build-up of energy. So if we look back at cable, and as I said, I think today could be the day where we get enough volatility either to push it through, or actually it just pushes back towards the high end of the range. We've got a bit of a market angle here that I've drawn in, so you could end up, depending on how the day goes, you could end up eventually kind of coming up towards these highs again before attempting again to break lower. I think ultimately I'm anticipating this market going lower. It's whether we're ready to do it now. And don't forget, we did speak about, is the dollar kind of going to retrace a bit more? That was a possibility. The dollar index is on support. So we have a lot of mixed signals. There's nothing clear right now. So in that situation, personally, I'd rather just let the market show me a bit more information, okay, even if I missed the initial move. I do believe, going back to the euro, I do like this one still to the short side. And you can see we are slowly approaching this area. So let me see. So that's interesting. So you've got the dollar yen rallying and you've got the euro dollar rallying. I just wonder if euro yen, I mean, obviously euro yen must be rallying right now. You can see it's just about, with the euro approaching its kind of turning point, dollar yen towards a high end. I mean, this is a possibility, but with the current momentum, I would kind of watch it rather than getting at a limit. I'd want to see kind of, but if your stop is, to be fair, if your stop's up here, it doesn't really matter. Now, let me look at Euro CAD. Don't like that 4-hour chart, but yeah, so that's not the best weekly chart, is it? So I thought it might be interesting, but it's not really. No, not for me. Let me go. Let's see where the Aussie dollar's at compared to what we spoke about this morning. So it is making its way down. Oh, this is the Kiwi. Oh, sorry. I thought I was looking at the Aussie. Okay. So really not going to anticipate Aussie strength here. If anything, Aussie weakness. Just trying to see if there's any kind of match. What else do we look at? Dollar Swiss. Yeah, dollar Swiss. So I reckon Aussie Swiss could come off a bit. Let me go and have a look at it. If I got that one. But again, it's not a big opportunity. I think it's just, yeah, sort of top end of a range. Yeah, maybe we got a little bit of room, but it's on a range. It's not really a good one. It's too messy. What about GBP Oz? See what that one's doing. So we spoke about this symmetrical triangle a little while back. We're quite close to the top end of it. This is a broken trend line on the daily chart. So that's quite bullish, although that is pretty strong. Okay, look at this, is really messy. It's just far too rangy for me. I think you've got potentially a move back down, maybe a retest of this trend line broken. Maybe it will go and hit the top end of the triangle and then come off a bit. I'm just not seeing, I can't see that. If I can't understand the higher time frame, I generally won't trade it. So if anything, with something like this, probably find a bit of a level here. That's roughly where the fib completes. So you'd probably do something like this. Let the market do its thing. And then you could potentially start to get involved at a later stage like here. But right now, for me, it's just one to kind of stay out of. Look at that, it's just noise. Aussie, let's have a look at Aussie yen. Well, then again, we are looking, let's have maybe a bit of momentum. Good little bounce there. A little bit, yeah, got the trend line there. Potentially maybe go and hit this trend line. Maybe a little bit of downside. I mean, we are clutching at straws here, guys. There really isn't anything great. For me, it's still about the euro. It's the only one that I quite like. So unless you're day trading small moves, in terms of swing trades, there's not a lot going on. Apparently there is on the sterling Oz, there is a 1 hour fade. Let me go back to that. Got an alert just now. How good that will be, I don't know. Maybe not. No, there's nothing here. I forgot which one I was looking at now. I think I was looking at Aussie yen, wasn't I? So I think there's a bit of room for the Aussie yen to go a bit lower, but again, like I said, it's not a huge opportunity. It's more of a day trade, if anything. So yeah, it's not for me really. It is trending. I think there's a little bit of room to the downside right now. I think the Aussie's got a bit more downside, and the yen is probably done for. And I think you've got it's top end of its range, and you can see it's just testing this area here. So if we go back to the hourly chart, in case you guys want to trade this, we add in the down fibs. Current A, B, 118, 50% pullback. Where does it complete? It completes right here. So this would be your target zone. Around 85, 75. What we can do is we can just do the manual fibs here as well from the C point. Might give you a better kind of play. So right now, we've got a current sub A, sub B, pull back to the 38. The next sub D is at 85, 96. Last thing you can do is you can take a market angle, use this support here. So if you want to day trade, you can see the market likes to react really nicely on this area. This looks like a good area. And one thing to note is, as the market liked to react here on the back end, here it broke through, acted on the back end, you could get the same sort of thing happening here as it's broken through, and you could get a reaction right here. So you may end up finding yourself sort of this area here as a decent little area. If you wanted to take a short. Could even do one more thing for you. Put in our sub fib. Okay. Going up. You can see the D on the up comes in exactly that level there as well. So 87.05. Take care, Eloy. Have a great one. Everybody, does that make sense? So it's not, I'm not going to say it's the best trade in the world, but it's not a bad trade. I think for a day trade, it's pretty decent. So this becomes a potential sell zone. So you could say potential sell zone. You'd basically put your stop above the sub A. And from a daily point of view, you could say this is broken support, and you're basically the path is towards this next trend line. So it would make sense for this to go down. And I would just target potentially either the 4-hour D, or you've got the hourly D as well. 85.95. Where's the 4-hour D? 85.78. So yeah, I mean, for me, I will just make this whole thing here my target. So not like the most exciting trade, but considering there's not a huge going on, it's not bad. Everybody, does that make sense? Okay. So just to summarize that one, the reason I'm okay with this is because we've broken support. I think the Aussie's got some more downside we've seen. It's got a little bit more downside even today. And the yen is still in a range. It's kind of the top end of its range. So I could see why this does go down. We're testing the break. We're looking for a good entry. And where's the DTR? DTR is 87.40. The area that I spoke about is 87.04. Go back over here. Let me just check that this is the. So that's the 1.5. Obviously we've got Kuroda speaking, but I'll check the DTR. So the 87.09 is the actual DTR. So 87.04 makes even more sense from that point of view. You can see this market has been respecting the sort of DTR very, very well. You can see, look, resistance, resistance, resistance. So I think a little order around 87.04 can be a decent trade. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any requests? Otherwise, I'm going to go and have a quick little look at the commodities. I think the only ones really that's, as I said, I think euro dollar's okay, euro yen's okay, and Aussie yen is okay as well. I haven't really seen too much else. I think the Aussie dollar reaction point looks okay as well for a day trade. But this is, you know, we're having to work quite hard at the moment to find decent swing trades. So just got to be patient, protect your account until the setups are there. I'll have a quick little look at gold because I'm interested in it. I want to see what's going on with it. Yeah, man, I did see you mentioned Bitcoins yesterday. I think right at the end of the webinar. Every day. Are you trading them? It's something that I'm looking at exploring a bit, but I need to do it I need to do some testing and see how it moves. Have you found it? Oh, great. Have you been, which broker are you using to trade them? What's the liquidity like? What are the spreads like? And how are you trading them? Is it day trading or end of day trading? Wow. You've been trading the news around Bitcoins. And are you putting in orders? I would imagine the slippage on that must be huge. So you're basically combining the most volatile instrument with the most volatile time. You're definitely braver than me, Yerman. Just greedy. Funnily, I'm kind of just getting used to MT4 actually, and you know, some of the things that you can do on TradeStation you can't do everything on MT4, but actually I don't mind it so much now that I've got everything set up. But my daughter was playing around. I let her play with the laptop, and she starts to press buttons. I actually discover lots of new things. So she was doing this, and then I realized here you can actually put in a symbol and a period. Just kind of, I just remembered it, so I thought I'd tell you guys. Did you guys know that? You probably did know that. But that's quite, for me, that's one of the things on TradeStation, which was, so you just double click on this. So if I want to change the symbol, you can just change it rather than having to, so if you're only using one screen, it could be quite useful. You could change the time frame, you can put the symbol and just do it there. So similar how you used to use the top bar on TradeStation. Was that obvious, or did everybody know how to, or was that, it was new to me? I mean, I don't know MT4 that well. Tom, you've been using MT4 for a while. I thought it's quite a neat thing my daughter taught me. Yes, you just double click on this basically, and here you can just change the, you can either change the period or you can change the symbol. So, for example, let's see if it works. See a cable comes up, and if I do this, XAU USD, oops. Oh, it won't go back now. Oh. Well, it worked the first time. I don't know, I've messed it up. Yeah, I'm going to have to speak to her, mate, when I get home. Yeah, she does all crazy stuff on my laptop, splits my screens up. I'm like, oh wow, you should like teach me that as well. Oh, I've just lost my gold. I don't know what's happened. I'll put it back on. So gold is continuing to make its way down. It's still kind of stuck in a bit of a range here. Finding good support, and probably this sort of area here, you can see this is where we've been kind of holding a bit of a level here as well overall. It's not perfect, but you can see this market really at the moment, you know, it's just stuck in this range, so quite difficult to trade. I think the market will probably want to go and test this trend line here and then make a decision. It is actually, it is a fade zone, which is interesting. So just wondering whether, you know, you've got an A, B, oh actually no, it has hit the 38. To be fair, no, it's gone to the 38, so I'll take that back. I mean, if the dollar goes up, then this probably breaks lower. And I would like, I mean, I can definitely see this one going back down to sort of, you know, around this sort of 1200 mark. You know, for me, it's still in a range here. Top end, and really you can kind of choose the bottom end. There's like a few, but this area here is probably the bottom end here. So, you know, you could argue that definitely the case for this eventually breaking lower towards these areas. Okay, right now though, I would just kind of stay out of it because it's quite difficult, unless you want to trade it as a range. Quite tricky one to trade right now. Let me see what crude is doing, and I want to also have a quick look at the S&P, and that would be it for me. Crude, we kind of drew a reversal point here. It is coming off since identifying that point. So I think I don't know what this is. I don't know how I got this one here. Let's see if I can change it. So weekly chart, as we said last time, has broken through this resistance point, could come back and test it. Daily chart, we've got here an overextension. We've hit the 200. We're pulling back right now. We've basically got the 23.6 at 54.90, and we've got 53.35, which is our 38. Right now, I'm anticipating crude pulling back a bit. And, one of the things that we mentioned last time is this channel. We said if this market kind of goes below this channel, you could see more of a pullback. And right now, you can see this has happened. And so I would now expect crude to potentially pull back a bit further. Okay, go and test this line at least. And then if it kind of breaks through that, then obviously we're looking at, this is the, that's the daily 38. 23.6 is 54.90, which actually would probably coincide with this first level. So first target, guys, if you like the short, is 54.90. Good area here as well to target. We'll go to the hourly chart. It's not really quite got going yet, but so, one of the disadvantages of obviously getting into a trade which is kind of moving like this is it could easily run against you. No one's really got great control of this market, so you generally have to give it a little bit of room. So I'd probably be looking at a one-to-one trade personally. I'd give it some space. Otherwise, you've got to be willing to get into the market over and over again if you're going with tight stops. So if you're playing momentum, maybe go to a smaller time frame. Last one, guys, I'm going to quick look at the S&P. I was looking at this one to come off a bit. Hasn't quite yet. This area here for me is a reversal point. It may go high, obviously, but in the past, these fade zones have at least pulled back a little bit. So you can see, like where I've identified, even here as well. So you've got fade zone pulled back a little bit, fade zone pulled back. This one didn't quite get there. This one went just slightly above it, pulled back. So we're basically in that pullback zone right now. So I would just kind of be cautious on the upside and possibly be looking for a potential reversal, at least short term. This looks a bit toppy as well, doesn't it? Almost like a double top here. It's just starting to weaken a bit. I'm just going to add in the MACD as well. And you can see, guys, clearly the market is diverging here. The MACD has gone below the zero line. I think we're getting ready for a little bit of a pullback here in the S&P. I'm not saying a top or anything like that. I'm just saying at least a correction. Wow, it's just been an incredible run. I'm not gonna go back and draw all my trend lines. Just want to see where we are within this. Okay. So you can see actually it's kind of a nice channel that I've taken from the top side. And look where we are. Let me see one last thing here. It's been a while to see it below the zero line. One thing I'll note is, let me draw, see if you have a look at something here. I just noticed the market, if you identify this area, held here last time. Which coincided with the move carrying on higher. And here as well, the market again basically went higher, and we're basically right there again. So what could be quite interesting is if the MACD on this 4-hour chart goes below here and then we break this channel, could be a good area to look for that short, whether it's today or tomorrow or whatever. And you could just put your stop just above these highs. I would even go above the 1618, somewhere there, especially because the market is very strong. And you're probably going to want to wait for Yellen to speak first. Okay, so if you trade the S&P, I think this could be quite interesting. A break of this low on the MACD and a break of this channel could see this market move quite well. So this is quite good for day traders. They're looking at that. Okay, guys, any questions? Okay, in that case, I'm going to wrap up. Don't forget, if you're on the markets, watch out for 9:30. You've got CPI data. That's typically a big mover, so anything in sterling you want to kind of keep an eye on. And if the market doesn't react, then you could still end up with a kind of average day, but I'd be very surprised unless it's in line and as expected. Yeah, that's fine. No worries, Tom. I'll kind of hold on. Tom wants to just say something, guys. I think he's decided he's coming in with shorts and t-shirt, like I asked him earlier, like I dared him. I think you should put some pink shorts and a pink t-shirt and get yourself in the office. Whilst Tom is typing, I will go and have a look at the euro again. So Tom saying it's interesting that this morning there's been a bull surge on euro dollar, but it's taken price right back into the top of a bear channel, but also it's just about to hit key resistance. Coincidence? I think not. Well, Tom is a conspiracy theorist. He's trying to say that there might be some interested people in selling it up here. What level is that, Tom? Is it at the same sort of levels that I've identified here? I think anywhere really in this zone with a stop up here is a sensible risk reward trade. You know, this, whatever the outcome, it's a sensible trade, you know, and probability is in your favor. But obviously anything can happen, especially on a news day. Do you have any volume bars that specify a specific area? Okay, so really we're talking the same level really. So there you have it, guys. That's really it. We've got, like I said, I mean, there's nothing amazing, but I like the look of the Aussie possibly pushing a little bit lower. I think Euro is probably the best one. Yen is still got to prove itself, so I think you've still got that potential of, like, you know, depending on what the yen does. I mean, if the yen weakens, then obviously not sure what Euro yen's going to do, depending on which one's stronger, Euro or yen. But I still think the probability is in our favor to play those two potential areas. So there's two possible areas for Euro yen to enter, and we'll keep an eye on CPI to see what kind of happens to sterling, and hopefully we'll get some direction off the back of all the news that we got today. Cool. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, guys. Thank you for all your inputs. I wish you all a good day, good trading. Alex, enjoy the sunshine. I'm going to stay indoors for as long as I can because it's freezing. Take care and see you soon.